Let's be brutally honest. A woman never truly sees your value when you're standing right in front of her, giving her all your love, attention, and energy. She sees it when you're gone, when the messages stop, when your silence replaces her certainty, and when she realizes that the man she thought would never walk away just did. And that's when something inside her breaks in a way she never expected. You see, men think women are emotional when they cry, but the truth is, the deepest regret a woman feels doesn't come with tears. It comes with silence. It's when her mind starts replaying the moments she dismissed you, the times she rolled her eyes when you spoke, or ignored your effort because she thought she had time. She believed you'd always be there. Because that's what women do when they think a man loves them more than they love him. They take him for granted. But then you disappear, and that silence, it becomes her punishment. Every morning, she checks her phone expecting your message, and when it's not there, the anxiety starts. She scrolls through your old photos, watches your stories, hoping to see a sign that you miss her too. But instead, she sees a man who looks free, calm, unbothered. And that's when the first brutal truth hits her. Your absence hurts more than your presence ever did. Because while she was busy trying to prove her independence, she never realized she had already grown addicted to your consistency, to the way you made her feel safe without her even asking. Now, she lies awake at night wondering if another woman gets to hear that voice before bed, gets to feel that same warmth she once rejected, and that thought burns her from the inside out. That's the thing about men who walk away with silence instead of anger. You don't give her closure, you give her curiosity. And curiosity, when mixed with regret, is a deadly combination. She starts stalking your posts, looking for clues. She wonders if you still think about her, if you ever loved her at all, or if she was just another chapter in your story. But the worst part? You're not reacting. You're not chasing. You're not posting sad quotes or cryptic stories. You're just gone. And that absence starts whispering in her mind over and over, he's really done. And that's the second brutal truth. A man's silence says more than any words ever could. Because when you finally stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to fix what she kept breaking, she realizes the power she thought she had was never real. It only existed because you allowed it. Now every moment you don't reach out, she replays every moment you did. Every argument where you tried to make peace. Every time you forgave what she didn't even apologize for. And the guilt, it eats her alive. She thought your patience was weakness, but now she sees it was discipline. You weren't chasing her, you were choosing her, and when you stopped, it wasn't out of spite. It was out of respect for yourself. That's when the third brutal truth hits. You were the one she needed to feel whole, but she only realized it after she broke you. It's funny, isn't it? How the man she once thought was replaceable suddenly becomes the man she compares everyone else to. Because deep down, she knows no one else looked at her like you did, without judgment, without trying to control her. You saw her even when she couldn't see herself. And now, your absence has become her mirror. Every man she meets now reflects what she lost. She'll smile, but it won't reach her eyes. She'll flirt, but it won't feel right. Because in her heart, she's haunted by the one question she'll never get to ask you again. Do you still think of me? She doesn't know that you've moved on, not with someone else, but with yourself. And that's what hurts her the most. Because for the first time, she realizes the truth. Losing you wasn't just losing a man, it was losing the version of herself that only existed when she was loved by you. Here's what happens next, and it's not what she ever expected. At first, she tries to convince herself she's fine, that she doesn't miss you, that she's happier without the pressure of being loved too deeply. She tells her friends, he was too intense, or it just wasn't meant to be. But deep down, her chest feels heavy, because no matter how much she pretends she's moved on, her mind keeps circling back to one truth she can't ignore. You disappeared without warning, and she didn't see it coming. That's when the war inside her begins. She starts fighting her own thoughts. Why hasn't he texted? Why is he so quiet? Did I mean nothing? That silence becomes unbearable. Because for the first time, she realizes your presence wasn't just about romance, it was her emotional stability. You were the anchor she didn't know she had until it was gone. She scrolls through social media, searching for any sign of you, a song lyric, a post, a story, anything that might prove you still care, but you're calm, centered, and that's when her panic turns into curiosity. Who is he talking to now? Has he found someone better? And that curiosity starts eating away at her confidence. That's the fourth brutal truth. When a man truly disappears, a woman starts seeing herself through the reflection of his silence. She starts questioning everything she once believed about herself, her beauty, her worth, her control. Because if she was truly special, why didn't you fight for her? Why didn't you beg or chase or plead the way she expected? You see, what she doesn't understand yet is that real strength isn't in chasing. It's in walking away with peace. And your silence forces her to see what she's never had to see before, her own behavior. All the dismissive words, the pride, the ego, it all replays in her mind like a movie she can't pause. And every scene ends the same way, with her wishing she'd done things differently. That's when the guilt morphs into obsession. She starts testing ways to get your attention again. Maybe a random, hey, maybe a subtle like on your photo, maybe posting something she knows you'll notice. It's her way of asking, are you still there? Without actually saying it. But when you don't respond, that's when the fifth brutal truth hits. Nothing is more painful to a woman than realizing the man who once chased her no longer cares to be found. And in that moment, she begins to crave what she once rejected, your attention. But it's not just your presence she misses. It's the feeling of being chosen by you, the calm you brought to her chaos, the safety of knowing you cared even when she didn't deserve it. She starts comparing every man she meets to you, and every time they fall short, because they don't understand her like you did. They don't challenge her. They don't carry that quiet strength you had, the kind that made her feel both safe and seen. And that's when the sixth brutal truth sinks in. When a man disappears after giving his best, he becomes unforgettable. You see, most men chase to prove their worth, but you didn't. You gave, you loved, and when it was time, you left. And that confuses her more than anything else, because now she's learning a lesson she thought only men had to learn, what it feels like to lose someone loyal. She'll try to replace you, but every conversation feels shallow. Every date feels like a performance, because no one makes her heart race the way you did. No one brings peace to her storms like you once did. And now, that silence you left behind, it echoes in everything she does. She'll laugh at dinner, but the sound feels hollow. She'll post smiling selfies, but her eyes betray her. Because deep down, she knows the truth. She didn't just lose a man, she lost the version of herself that was soft, safe, and seen. The version that existed only in your presence. And that realization hits like a storm she can't escape. Because the truth she runs from is the same truth that haunts her every night. She thought she could live without you, but now she can't even think without wondering if you've already forgotten her name. Something changes inside her. It's not just sadness anymore. It's fear. A quiet, aching fear that she's been replaced. That while she's replaying your last words, you're already building memories with someone new. And that thought, it shakes her more than she's willing to admit. Because now she's facing the seventh brutal truth. A woman's biggest fear isn't losing love. It's being forgotten by the man who once gave it freely. You've become a ghost that lingers in her life. Not the kind that scares her, but the kind she can't stop searching for. She starts revisiting old conversations, screenshots, photos, anything that reminds her of what you once were. And in doing that, she keeps reopening wounds that never had the chance to heal. Every post you make now carries weight. If you look too happy, she feels small. If you look mysterious, she feels curious. If you post nothing at all, she feels anxious. Because in her mind, your silence has become louder than any argument ever was. It's not about what you're saying, it's about what you're not saying. You see, a woman's imagination is her worst enemy when she's in regret. She begins creating stories. Maybe you've moved on, maybe you've changed, maybe you've finally become the man she always wanted you to be, but now for someone else. And that's when her pride starts to crumble, because now she's the one chasing your memory. She starts posting things that seem accidental but are meant for your eyes. Maybe a quote that says, "Sometimes we realize too late who truly cared." Maybe a photo of her out with someone new, hoping it stings you just enough to reach out. But it doesn't, because you're not playing the same game anymore. You've learned something she hasn't. The most powerful revenge is peace. That's when the eighth brutal truth reveals itself. When a man's energy shifts from chasing her to building himself, she feels the loss in her soul. Because your silence is no longer just distance, it's evolution. You're not ignoring her, you're elevating. You're growing into the version of yourself she never believed you could be without her. And that burns deeper than any insult or argument ever could. Now she starts rethinking everything she said to you. The words that were once thrown in anger now echo like thunder in her own mind. The moments she made you feel small now make her feel guilty. And she realizes that she didn't just lose a boyfriend, she lost her safe place, the one man who knew how to love her chaos without running from it. But now she can't reach you, because you're not the same man anymore. The version of you that begged for her time no longer exists. You've replaced waiting with working. You've replaced reacting with rising. And that's when she starts to panic, because she sees what you've become without her, and it's everything she hoped you'd become with her. Now she's stuck in the cruelest kind of pain, watching you from afar, knowing she no longer has the right to be near you. And that's the ninth brutal truth. When a man disappears to find his strength, he forces a woman to face her weakness. She'll try to move on, but something inside her won't let go. Because deep down, she knows she was the reason you had to disappear in the first place. You gave her everything, your patience, your loyalty, your time, and she gave you lessons disguised as love. But you learned them well. You learned that your silence is sacred, that your absence carries more power than your presence ever did. And now, she's left in the ruins of her own pride, realizing the truth she spent so long denying. You weren't trying to control her. You were trying to love her. You weren't trying to change her. You were trying to grow with her, and she mistook your devotion for weakness. But the man who walks away with peace doesn't lose. He transforms. And that transformation is what haunts her more than anything. Because now, she sees the man every woman will want. And she knows she's the reason he exists. By now, she's not just missing you. She's craving you, but not in the way she used to. This time, it's not about attraction. It's about closure. It's about wanting to feel that you still care, even after she gave you every reason not to. She wants reassurance that she still holds a piece of your heart, even though she shattered it. But the cruel irony is, she can't get it, because you've changed. You're no longer the same man who waited by his phone for her validation. You're no longer addicted to her attention. You've learned something she never expected. Your silence is a mirror that shows her what she lost. And now, every man she meets reflects that truth back to her. The new guy might compliment her, but it doesn't sound the same. He might text her, but it doesn't feel the same. Because what she's really chasing isn't another man. It's the feeling of being adored by someone who saw her soul. You didn't just love her beauty, you loved her depth. You saw her when she was unguarded, when she was vulnerable, when she thought no one else could understand her darkness. That's what she misses. But now she realizes that the man she took for granted is gone. And that realization cuts deeper than any heartbreak, because you didn't just walk away, you outgrew her. And once a man grows beyond a woman's emotional reach, she can never pull him back. She can only remember him. That's what keeps her awake at night. That's why her laughter feels empty, because deep down she knows your silence isn't a punishment. It's a reflection of your peace. That's the 10th brutal truth. A woman only realizes your value when your energy no longer depends on her approval. She's addicted to the version of you that needed her, the man who would do anything to fix things. But now that you've healed, now that you've detached, she doesn't recognize you. You've become something rare, a man she can't control, a man who no longer needs to be understood to feel worthy. And that terrifies her, because while she was chasing validation from the world, you were building it within yourself. Now, she watches your silence like it's a movie she can't pause. Every post you make, every smile you show, every ounce of calm in your energy, it reminds her that you're doing fine without her. And that's not something her ego knows how to process, because her whole sense of power came from the idea that you would never leave. You were her emotional safety net. And now you've vanished, not with hatred, but with peace. And peace is something she can't compete with. She'll tell herself she's moved on, she'll date, she'll travel, she'll laugh for the camera, but deep down, she's measuring everything against the man who disappeared. You. And what she realizes too late is this: your disappearance didn't break her heart. It broke her illusion, the illusion that she could treat love carelessly and still have it waiting when she changed her mind. And that's when the craving becomes something darker. She starts longing not for you, but for redemption. She wants to prove to herself that you still feel something. She wants to know she still matters in your world. But you've evolved past that game. You've learned to walk alone, to sit with silence, to rebuild your strength from the inside out. You've stopped waiting for closure because you became your own. And that's what truly destroys her, seeing that you no longer look back, that your silence is not revenge, it's resurrection. You rose from the ashes of her indifference, and now your peace has become her punishment, because she can't reach you anymore. You've leveled up emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and that version of you doesn't need her validation to feel valuable. Now, she's left chasing memories that don't answer back. And that's the moment she understands. Your disappearance wasn't abandonment, it was graduation. You outgrew the chaos that once kept you small, and the man you've become, he's everything she wanted, but now he's beyond her reach. Here's the part she never tells anyone. When you disappeared, she didn't just lose a man, she lost her mirror. Because you reflected back to her the kind of love she always hoped to receive, but didn't know how to handle. You showed her loyalty, patience, understanding, all the things she thought she wanted until they forced her to confront her own chaos. And when you left, she had to face that chaos alone. That's when she realized the problem was never your effort. It was her inability to value it. Now every quiet night reminds her of what she destroyed. She'll lay in bed, scrolling through messages she can't send, hovering over your name, fighting the urge to reach out. But she won't, because deep down, she knows she lost the right to your energy. You gave her something rare, pure, masculine peace. That presence of a man who didn't need to prove himself, who loved from strength, not desperation, and she didn't recognize it until it was gone. That's the 11th brutal truth. A woman may find attention everywhere, but she'll only find peace once, and it's usually with the man she lost. See, most women can replace attention easily. A few texts, a date, a compliment, it's enough to fill the surface. But peace? That's something only a grounded man can give, and that's what you were. You were her calm in a world full of noise, the one who didn't compete for her attention, but commanded her respect. And when you disappeared, she didn't just lose love, she lost balance. Now, your silence has become her teacher. It's showing her what words never could. That love without gratitude dies quietly, that pride is expensive, and that once a man learns his worth, no apology can bring him back. Because peace isn't something you find in another person, it's something you protect within yourself. And here's what's beautiful about this. Your disappearance didn't make you colder, it made you clearer. You stopped pouring your heart into places that couldn't hold it. You stopped explaining your value to people too blind to see it. You became the man who doesn't chase validation, because he embodies it. The kind of man women regret losing, but can't replace. And that's the 12th brutal truth. Disappearing doesn't make you weak. It proves your strength. It's the moment you stop trying to convince someone to see your worth and start living like you already know it. It's the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need closure, because his actions were his answer. And when you carry that kind of energy, the world responds differently. People respect your boundaries, women sense your value, opportunities flow, because peace has a frequency, and yours speaks louder than your words ever could. So while she's replaying the past, you're writing a new future. You've taken the pain she gave you and turned it into power. You've learned that sometimes disappearing isn't about revenge, it's about rebirth. It's about giving yourself the space to grow into the man you were always meant to be, without the noise of someone who couldn't see your light. And one day, maybe weeks, maybe months from now, she'll see you again. Not in person, but through your evolution. Through the glow of a man who no longer carries resentment, only peace. And that's when her heart will drop, because she'll realize you didn't move on to another woman. You moved on to a higher version of yourself. And that version can never be replaced. So, to every man listening, understand this. Your silence is not emptiness, it's transformation. It's the sound of boundaries, of healing, of becoming someone who no longer settles for being half seen. You didn't lose her. She lost the privilege of your presence. Now tell me, when was the moment you realized walking away was the only way to protect your peace? Write your answer in the comments below and let other men know they're not alone in this. If this message hit your soul, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear it tonight. Because sometimes, disappearing isn't the end. It's the beginning of the man you were meant to become.